Hello everybody, long time no see. This is the 4th of April today. Like most other people, we're in lockdown, but we've been out to the orchard today, keeping distance. We didn't meet anybody out there other than our family, and done some necessary work to do with food production, so I'm sure that's all legitimate. And we've got a few apples from the apple store, and this is of some interest because this is a question of what apples we might have in natural storage. This is from a non-refrigerated fruit store that we have out at the orchard. So do you want to tell us about these apples, Julia?
We've got May Queen, which are these, and Huesgen's Golden Reinette.
Yes, I'm not sure whether it's Huesgens or Huesgens, or Huesgens, as in Huygens. Anyway, it's a Dutch variety, and going back to this very old book, The Good Fruit Guide by the late Lawrence Hills, this is one of the books which inspired us, and we got information from. Huesgens or Huesgens Golden Reinette, I don't think that's focusing very well on there. But Huesgen's Golden Reinette is apparently from 1877, and it's described as a dessert apple, which is supposed to be ripe from February until April. And said to be golden yellow, flushed bright red, pale yellow flesh, juicy, sub-acid flavour. The easiest of this type of apple. A good late blossom for frosty areas, an upright tree, prolific and scab resisting. And so on the basis of that description, we decided to include it in our collection. There was only one supplier listed in the whole country, and we got this from, I remember distinctly the day we got it, and that was a long time ago. It was driving home from seeing our parents in London. That was from Keeper's Nursery in Kent. Keeper's Nursery is still going under different management, but they're a very good nursery, Keeper's Nursery in Kent. We've had some good fruit from them. I think they have an apple day, don't they? So which is the Huesgens or the Huesgens? That one. It's a different apple from anything else. It's quite flat, if you like. It's a long keeper. It's a bit soft, a little bit flabby. You can see the skin at this stage is slightly wrinkled. Now, frankly, if you're going to think about being off-grid and hey, there'd be a lot more thought about being off-grid and self-sufficient in the future, isn't there? In view of recent events, which, you know, going back a long time, and we talked about this in the book that I wrote, Tales from an English Orchard, available on Amazon Kindle. What first got us thinking about growing these rare apples many years, or 30 years ago, was thought, well, hey, what if, you know, there is a global crash and the oil runs out and that sort of thing? You know, there are many adaptations we can make, but if we've lost the genetics of these old fruits which our ancestors grew in earlier times without the benefits of electricity and chemicals and stuff like that and refrigeration, then if we lose the genetics, they're gone forever. So important to keep the genetics going, and the best way to keep the genetics of these rare old apples growing is to actually develop an appreciation for them. So, you were telling me earlier that you really could smell these and the fragrance of them.
They were very fragrant, yeah.
Unless
mainly the Huesgens, because
yeah.
that was the bulk
Yeah.
of what I had.
I've got quite a poor sense of
May
smell.
Queen hadn't kept so well.
So, how would you describe the flavour of these?
It's a bit like a cooking apple, I often think, the texture. When they're first picked, they're very acid. And I'm going to try and cook some of these. There's not a lot of flavour left now, but it's not unpleasant.
It's a wholesome apple, isn't it? What would you say about the texture? Because when we used to do the markets, people would often say, oh, I want a crunchy apple.
They sometimes have a rather crumbly, grainy texture, particularly the larger specimens. This isn't too bad.
And it's not like the mushy, squishy texture, isn't it, which people loathe.
Well, you're not going to have a crisp English apple kept in natural storage by now.
You might achieve it from control.
Would normally still be keeping by now, but they wouldn't be crisp now.
I mean, for me, this is worth having. people think it's a great joke that we have golden delicious apples, but in fact there's a tree in the garden which was there when we bought this house 21 years ago, and it's a very prolific tree. We don't take many apples from it, we mainly let them fall to the ground and be eaten by the blackbirds, the thrushes and the woodpeckers. We have woodpeckers coming into the garden.
I have got a golden delicious which is in a sorry state.
Yeah.
That wasn't even kept in the apple store, that was just kept in the back scullery.
So it's got a lot of spots on it.
It's quite soft.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I was watching a Joni Mitchell video last night. Spots on the apples. Well, DDT is an insecticide and doesn't do anything about spots on the apples. Spots on the apples are usually caused by fungus.
It's actually got a really nice flavour.
Alright, well, cut me away, please. Golden Delicious isn't as bad an apple as it's got a reputation for being. I think the problem with Golden Delicious is because it's so efficient as a grower and storer, that it just became the dominant apple and you could hardly get anything else, and it was grown to the exclusion of apples which had a better flavour.
Also, the majority of Golden Delicious that we had in this country, well, until the Cape ones came through, were from France, and they tend to irrigate and feed their apples till they're very big, and that does have a deleterious effect on the flavour.
This is not crisp.
They're crisp and
it hasn't got much flavour to it. I mean, basically,
it's aromatic though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an acceptable apple. It's not great. Again, so much of the choice we've got, going back to Rosanne Saunders' book, not on the label what really goes into the food on your plate. You talk about this, the illusion of permanent global summertime. Because of mass transport systems and globalism, people come to expect to get certain kinds of stuff, whatever they want, every day of the year, which is only achievable by globalisation and mass transport and mass refrigeration and
if you
other
want apples
stuff.
for other purposes than just eating a crisp apple from the fruit bowl, these would be okay. They're fine cut up on your muesli.
This is an
I'm going to cook some.
Golden Delicious.
You could, at this stage,
edible.
make apple rings out of them quite well because they're already partly dehydrated.
That's a nice way of doing it.
You've got some flavour and sugar still there.
Yeah. Anyway, should we talk about the other apple? It's May Queen. You can see what a very different shape this is. It's more globular. Or more,
they're always very irregular as well.
It's got an irregular angle to it. This is one of the things the industry developed in a way of producing apples which were symmetrical, predictable. They like them to be round, apart from anything else, so they roll down conveyor belts better. And you know, an apple like this is a funny old shape. You couldn't sell this in today's market.
They've always got irregular russeting patches.
Irregular russeting now. Nothing wrong with it, but I think it's quite beautiful. But it doesn't fit with the industry. And people, by the way, people do lie to opinion polls. It's, oh yes, of course I'd like to vote for higher taxes or for locally produced apples. But then when they get into the privacy of their own choice-making situation, not quite the same. Anyways, this is May Queen, and this is one of the apples that I've been promoting. Now, I'm sorry to say that we haven't been sending out the sign wood for grafting the last couple of years. I mean, this year for various reasons. Last year because I was away in Australia. But anyway, we did send out sign wood for about 5 years, and I know that a lot of people have grafted and planted orchards with some of the signs we've sent out. And May Queen was one of the ones I particularly recommended and suggested and sent out because it's a very rare apple, very hard to find. So do you want to tell us about May Queen, Julia? Well, I'll just quickly look it up in the Good Fruit Guide.
Well, I know very little about it. It's a very, very rare apple. It tends to overcrop a lot of small fruits.
I always have to thin it hard, don't I?
Having said that, I find that the large apples of all varieties don't keep so well.
Yeah.
So I don't mind. Medium to small apples actually store better.
Yeah. Oh, blimey Dan, it's not even mentioned in this book. I must have... I know it was mentioned in... I'm not going to go and go for the library now, but it was certainly mentioned in Edward Bunyard's The Anatomy of Dessert. He said it had a nutty flavour and was a very late keeper. Nutty and very crunchy. So is this May Queen here?
I don't think it has a lot of flavour now. A lot of the fruit last summer did not develop its best flavour for us because we had a very dry summer on sandy soil.
Yeah.
And a lot of the fruit didn't develop as well as it would in an optimum year.
Yeah, I mean, eating that, it's fine to eat. It's not particularly crunchy. I'll be lying, and I don't believe in overstating. Like, you don't help your case by overstating it. I'd be lying if I said that this was packed with rich flavour, because it's not, is it? I mean, it's a long-keeping apple. It's very fertile, very regular cropper. Needs thinning, and it's a very long keeper. I don't think the flavour is particularly outstanding. However, May Queen, Huesgen's Golden Reinette, sound apples, worth eating. Sugar, vitamin D, vitamin C, apples worth eating, which have kept until April.
They were picked mid-October.
Yeah.
And they've just kept in a ventilated box in the apple store.
Now you've gone through the apple store today. What proportion of the fruit that was in the boxes has remained acceptable? Because obviously if these were just 2 out of 100 and the rest of them gone rotten, that wouldn't say much.
No, I mean, out of those varieties, out of what I kept, I'd say about 2/3 were still sound. Some of them were a bit more spotty looking.
So obviously if you are storing fruit naturally, you've clearly got to go through it and sort it. Keep it mouse proof, obviously. I mean, some fruit will have just a tiny little injury on it, and that will allow organisms to get in. Of course, in the modern system, fruit's picked not quite mechanically, but it's picked in a hurry, early in the morning, into mobile conveyor belts in the orchard. Think of a fruit train, which is a load of wheeled wagons pulled behind a tractor slowly, picked early in the morning so it's cold, through a bath which contains fungicide, and then it's cooled down and packed very, very quickly into special containers in buildings, which are then sealed, and the temperature is controlled at typically 4 degrees centigrade, and the atmosphere is controlled, mostly nitrogen, a bit of carbon dioxide. They remove ethylene chemically. So the apples will then stay just not quite ripe, but somewhat crunchy. And they can keep them for over a year like that. And really develop the flavour. Anyway, so that's just a little bit about what apples we've actually got in April, which is quite a long time. We did keep apples until July one year, didn't we?
You know, I can't remember now.
I'm pretty sure we did, and I think that was the variety Sunset. No, not Sunset. Suntan. Stupid name for an apple. Suntan, which is a very interesting apple genetically. Anyway, so there we are. A couple of apples. May Queen and Huesgen's Golden Reinette. They're not the best flavoured, but they're quite reliable croppers, and they keep a long time. So certainly an apple to have in your collection if you are thinking about being off-grid stroke self-sufficient. Over and out.